Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Rod Cleef, and I am thrilled you're here. And I know you're going to enjoy the gentleman we're interviewing today. His name is Joseph Gozlan, and Joseph has, I can't even count these. I don't know how many units it is, but quite a few. He's taken action. He and I actually spoke, it seems like a lifetime ago, but it's probably only been about a year and a half ago when he was just getting rolling, and he's already into the hundreds of units. So really making things happen, and we're lucky to have him on the show. Joe, welcome.
Thank you, Rod. It's an honor to be on your podcast. I've been a
thank you.
long-time listener.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Yeah. So, let's do the traditional, tell us how you got started story. I know you've started in single family. So, start there, and then let's talk about, let's move into that first unit and your mindset about getting into the space.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Israel. And when my then fiance and I got married, we decided to buy an apartment, and we bought one, but it was kind of too large for us. And we were just renting a one-bedroom kind of apartment on our own. And that fell in line with the same timeline that we read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And we said, okay, maybe just for a couple of years before we move in, we'll rent it out. So we became accidental landlords. And then you start seeing the income stream, and it all falls in line. So we said, okay, that real estate thing has a real merit behind it. And life happened. We kind of moved to the United States in 2007, recognized that the 07-08, the big crash, was probably the best opportunity market we're ever going to see in our lifetime. So we sold the apartment back home, and we started buying single families in the States.
Where were you located at that time?
Plano, Texas. That's where we came over. Okay. And that was really a fantastic time to buy here in Plano.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was pretty much a fantastic time to buy anywhere. And of course, I was licking my wounds and hiding under a rock because I was getting my butt kicked in that time frame. But there were incredible opportunities. In fact, some of the most successful syndicators that I've interviewed on the show started in 09 and 10, and so fantastic. So when did you buy that first 22 unit? I know that was number one, right? That was the first one?
That is correct. So I started my journey back in 2015, getting into multifamily. The trigger was realizing that single family was just not scalable enough for me, right? That year, I had to write about $45,000 worth of expenses on a property. And I was lucky I had reserves, right? I was prepared for that. But I realized that if every one of my singles is going to have that much expenses, I'm going to be in big trouble. So I researched what's better, what's more scalable, what is safer. And multifamily is really where I landed because you get to spread your risk across a lot more units. So that's where I started my journey. And it's not an easy industry to get yourself into, right? It's hard to get your foot through the door. So there was a lot of building relationship with brokers and reaching out. And at my frustration point, I said, you know what, the hell with it. I'm going to source the deal myself. So I started doing marketing and postcards and cold calling until I found in 2016 a good seller that was willing to come in at a reasonable price and work a good deal with us.
Awesome.
So 2016 was our first one.
No kidding. Well, let's dissect that deal. Do you mind? So you found that by direct to seller. Awesome. So that was a fantastic way to do it. Tell us about the deal itself. Unit mix, pricing, how you put it together, how you put together the capital stack. Let's just dissect that one.
Sure. So we agreed on a sale price of 1.6.
Okay.
And it's a 22 unit. I didn't look for a Class A building, but I kind of happened to land on one. This is a 2007 build, granite countertops, really, really nice property. The gentleman that was selling it was an 80-year-old. He built the property by himself. He used to be a custom home builder for decades. So everything is really built at a very high spec and very nicely done. Mm-hmm. And he was kind of self-managing it, fixing stuff on his own, having a realtor help him lease up. Very lenient with the way that he operated things with the resident. But at 80, he was kind of ready to move on from that. So And I remember I had a conversation with you before I went to the meeting face to face with him.
Right. I remember.
And you kind of helped me basically tweak my message, right? Just the right things to say, the right way to build rapport with that person, because it's a relationship business. If you don't build a relationship, nothing is going to work. So for that, I am grateful to you.
Oh, my pleasure,
And
buddy. And let me interject something. Guys, whenever you're dealing with an elderly seller, 80 or above, focus more on the relationship than the deal. Build rapport, develop a relationship, because seller bonding is so important and so valuable. You know, people that as they're growing older, they value relationship more. They realize that life is about relationship, and they're a little more evolved just because of their age, and you want to take advantage of that, not to take advantage of them, but to create a win-win deal. And that's likely, I don't remember the specifics of how I added value to you back then, but that's likely what I said was to focus on the relationship, because that really does make a huge difference. Please continue. So 1.6 million. So that's a good price for it. I mean, that's a high price for a 22, but that's because it's an A building. I mean, granite countertops.
exactly.
Holy cow. So how did you finance it?
So seller financing, the down payment.
No kidding. Oh, that's right. So now I remember. I do remember you talking to me about that. That's right. Okay. Fantastic. Oh, that's awesome. Seller financing.
Yeah.
And that, guys, seller financing is the belle of the ball whenever you can do it.
Awesome. Absolutely. Actually, we've done another one of those since then.
But
on this one, because of the relationship, because I didn't want to bring another partner, I had some money that I've gotten from refinancing the properties I bought back in 2009, right? So 2006 was a great year to, 2016 was a great year to refinance it. Sure. And then we pulled the equity out. We used that one as a down payment with the seller. And all we had to do coming in is really shine as operators, because the property did not need rehab. There was no major CapEx expenses, very small things. But when you come in and you turn this into a community, right? We are big believers in karma, right? We want to give a great place for our residents to live in. We want to make sure that they want to bring in their friends. They want to bring in their family to live in the property with them. So we've actually built a waiting list. We were able to bump rents way beyond what he was getting. We always like to use carrot over stick, right? When we try to encourage our residents to do things. So he would let them pay on the 15th, on the 20th, right? And when we came in, we want things done, get paid as soon as possible. So instead of, coming in as the new sheriff in town, and if you don't pay me on time, you're going to get evicted, we said, okay, anyone that pays on time for the first month is going to get in the raffle for a big TV, right? So we raffled an LED TV. It was like, I don't know, $200 for us, but 80% of the property paid on the first.
No kidding. Oh, that's brilliant.
So what we love about this property is the location was awesome. And then a year later, refinance, we got appraised at 2.1.
No kidding. Look at that, 500 grand, just like that. Just by increasing the rents and improving the NOI, improving the net operating income. You got a $500,000 increase in value. Fantastic, fantastic, buddy. So what was property number 2? How many units?
So property number 2 was 102. That was our first syndication.
Okay.
And that one was definitely an experience.
Yeah.
Right. It's a lot different than buying for yourself.
Just as long as it wasn't a seminar. Hopefully it wasn't too many. I'm sure there were some little mini seminars in there, but hopefully no big ones. So
no, there was no big.
How'd you find it? And what, tell us about it.
So like I said earlier, it's an industry that's hard to get into, right? It's a catch-22 because until you start buying, nobody wants to give you anything to buy, right? So, but once we closed on our first one, then brokers started to realize that, okay, you're a closer, you're not just a tire kicker. So I started getting some deals a little bit earlier into the process before they go on the market. And then our property management, actually, a third-party partner that we have, saw a broker walk around the property nearby the property they were managing. and they knew that broker. So they kind of reached out and said, hey, what's going on? They said, well, the sellers are thinking of selling. They told me, you know what? We got the perfect buyer for you. And they got us connected with them.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So it's just, and guys, property managers can be a great source of deals. It happens all the time. I hear it time in and time out. So those relationships are valuable. And let me publicly say it once again. I have so many of you that I talk to on strategy calls, and you think that I'm a big proponent for self-management, which I am, with a caveat. And that caveat is after you've stopped buying. When you're out of acquisition mode, then get third-party management. Then consider managing yourself. When you have enough of an infrastructure where you can pay somebody the same amount of money you're paying a third-party manager, then consider taking it in-house, because chances are you can do as good or a better job than they do. But when you're in acquisition mode, absolutely don't manage. And if you're brand new, don't manage. You need to learn the business, learn the nuances. And frankly, and this is a great example of another reason why you don't self-manage. You got this deal because of your property manager that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Right?
True. Absolutely. Yeah. And okay. I look at our property management company as Olympic athletes, right? Every Olympic athlete has a coach. Can that coach be faster, throw higher, faster, longer, right? No. But what a coach brings in is accountability, is big picture view, is those little tweaks here and there that helps that athlete go 3-5% more. And that's how they get the goal, right? So that's what we do with our property. That's what we do with our property management, right? We work with them. We catch the balls that they might drop because they're human, right? We hold accountability. We keep track of things. And we give them the 50,000 foot view that they might lack from where they are, right? Okay. And that's how we get that operational excellency.
So this 102 unit was your first syndication. Tell us how that came together. What did you do to go find investors? How did you position yourself? How did you put yourself out there with authority? Give us a little bit of background there.
Yeah. So for me, doing the first one, I did it all by myself, right? I didn't have any partners. I went at it. Sometimes ignorance is bliss, right? So sure. I figured I can do everything. The underwriting and finding the deal and all this went well. And then we got to the equity raising stuff, right? So I've built an offering memorandum that I've evolved a lot during this process. And when we went to investors, we went to friends and family, right? Okay. So there is I know you talked about that in the show before. There's 506B and 506C.
Correct.
And it's always hard for me to remember what it is.
506C is accredited only. So yes. Which did you do?
We did a 506B for our first one.
So you took anybody, really. It's pretty much anybody. But I mean, you want to do sophisticated. You don't really want to do people that have never done anything before because they require so much handholding. But you can in a 506B. So you went to friends and family. How did that go?
A lot harder than I thought it would be. Right.
Tell us why.
First of all, there's a lot of education that has to happen, right? Even when a person is an accredited investor or a sophisticated investor, they might be doing great in stocks or in options or in any other things, but multifamily is a different thing that they have never seen. Even people that invest in single family properties has a challenge transitioning and understanding structures of multifamily. Sure. So there was a lot of educating and sometimes multiple conversations with the same people to just get them used to the idea of what is multifamily, how we structure a deal, why me that only have a 22 can handle 102 units, right? This is where I leaned heavily on my property management experience and their reputation and how they are a huge advantage for us.
Oh, that's smart. So you just supplemented that lack of experience with the other member of your team, which is your property management company in this case. And guys, you can do that with a management company. You can do that obviously with a sponsor that owns units. But let me ask you this, so I don't forget. Did you go Freddie Mac on this deal and utilize the property manager as the experience piece, or were you able to go somewhere other way?
We did Fannie Mae, and
You
yes,
did
we
Fannie
used
Mae.
our property management.
Okay, so Fannie Mae. It's usually easier with Freddie Mac if you're using a third party manager as the experience component. But maybe, that's great. You were able to pull it off with Fannie Mae. Awesome, fantastic.
Well, I wasn't the only KP. We actually got
Oh,
the owner of the property management to come in as a KP with us.
oh,
She was
okay.
actually an investor in the deal. It was that good of
Oh,
a
okay.
transaction. So
Okay.
that
Well,
helped build
there you go. Okay, that explains it. I was a little puzzled how you were able to pull that off, but that explains it. So you brought the property manager, and brilliant. I mean, brilliant. Give them a piece, and the deal is done. It's just as if you were bringing a sponsor in. It's the same thing, really. Fantastic.
Plus, we get them with even higher stakes in the game, making
Sure.
sure the property is operated to the
They have
best
a dog in
efficiency.
the hunt. Yeah, they have a dog in the hunt. They've got to make sure it's well taken care of. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great strategy, and it's a very effective, and it's not an uncommon strategy. Well, good for you. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So you raised that money from friends and family, and I know your next deal was a 28 unit, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Another syndication?
No, that one, again, I took all by myself, but
Okay.
only because we got the seller to agree to seller financing again, and he let us in at a very low down payment.
So
So,
how did you find those deals? Did you do outbound calls? Did you do mailing? Did you send postcards, letters? Tell us some strategies that you used.
so that one was actually through a broker relationship.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Uh,
So that was a broker deal. Okay. Okay. I
so
don't
we
know.
were,
Sometimes it's hard to do seller finance deals with brokers because, obviously they've got to get a commission and whatnot. And a lot of times there's some resistance with the broker arena when you're trying to propose a seller finance deal. They look at you like sometimes that, they may have a preconceived idea that you're a novice because you propose seller financing, or maybe you can't get regular financing or whatever. And I know that as a broker, you'll sometimes get that resistance, but obviously you didn't. So fantastic. You were able to do it via a broker deal.
yeah, so we like building relationship with brokers that are smaller boutique shop and not the big monsters like ARA Newmark and Marcus and Millichap and all these
Right.
guys, because the smaller boutique shop will work with you a lot more, and they
Mm-hmm.
will build that relationship with you, and they'll be able to testify on your behalf when
Right.
they're talking to a seller versus another guy from Marcus and Millichap that for you, you're one of his 300,000 people on the mailing list,
And a
right?
very, very good tip, guys. Those of you listening, that is a great tip, especially in this hot market. As you're getting going, align yourself with the small boutique like that and grow together. Grow with somebody like that. These are lifelong relationships you're building. You're not going to get into this multifamily business for a quick hit and get rich quick. It's not a get rich quick business. It's a become extremely wealthy over time business, but it happens through deep, frankly, lifelong relationships with brokers like you're describing here, that become your advocates. Awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So the latest was a 97 unit. Tell us about that one.
So that one we haven't closed yet. We just
Okay.
got it under contract a couple of weeks ago. We finished inspection last week, so it's a fantastic property. We jumped on it as soon as we could. I think the broker reached out to me with, I heard they're going to put it on the market, and 2 hours later we had it under LOI.
No kidding.
Um, oh yeah, we move fast. And
Fantastic.
then
How fast? I mean, did you have your money go hard quickly? Did you do anything to set yourself apart? Was there anything you did as a strategy to make sure you didn't get usurped out of that deal?
yeah, so the real strong value that we brought into this deal is that it was right across the street from the 102 units we bought.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
So we're in the corner. We know all the numbers. We know everything we need to know. So that's why we were able to pull the trigger so fast, because underwriting it was easy.
Sure.
We're there. We know exactly
Yeah,
what's possible.
you didn't have to do any market analysis for rents and, beat yourself to death calling other properties and trying to make sure you're comparing apples to apples. I mean, you're right there. Oh, that's
Exactly.
fantastic. Oh, that's a home run. And
Yep.
that's a home run on a whole bunch of different levels, because you could actually put those two together if you wanted to at some point, if they're literally across the street from you, which
Yeah,
makes
so we have multiple strategies around
right.
that, but what's the really good part is that it brings us economy of scale to the
Hmm.
point where we can save money on better operation efficiency,
No question.
right?
Same maintenance staff, same leasing staff, same everything. I mean, it's fantastic. That's it's almost like you acquired a company in this regard. It's you pool and you have economies. That's fantastic. So tell my listeners how you go about your due diligence. What are you going to do on the due diligence on this new acquisition? Tell us your process for that. How that's come about.
So yeah, so this is again where partnering with a property management company really
Mm.
pays off, right?
Okay.
So when we go into due diligence, we bring multiple people from the property management company. We bring some outside contractors. For
Mhm.
example, we will always bring a plumber that will run cameras underneath the buildings in the sewer lines, right?
Mhm.
This is not part of my property management company. It's a third-party vendor, but we will always do that because when you deal with C-class properties, there's
Mhm.
always problems with the plumbing. You just need to know what you're getting into, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's something we do. We walk on every roof. We put ourselves into every door, every shop, every nook and cranny in the property.
Mhm.
We usually take 2 or 3 teams of our either managers or regional managers or maintenance people from the other properties, bring them in for a couple of days, and we walk every unit, no matter what the size of the property is. We walk every unit. And what I did is I went on Amazon. I bought a 3 or 4 small point and shoot cameras.
Mhm.
Right. I bought 10 extra batteries. I bought 10 extra security card, memory cards, and
Mhm.
I just handed over to the teams. And I told them I want as many pictures as you can get.
Of every
And
unit, cataloged. So when you want to know what unit 302 looks like, all you have to do is go in your Dropbox and pull the pictures, and you know exactly what the interior of that unit looks like. Love it. That's a
yes,
brilliant strategy.
the first picture is of the unit
Of
number,
the
and then they
address,
walk
unit
in, and
number.
then you
That's
have
the
a
way to
picture.
do it. Yep, that's the way we do it as well. Take a picture of the address of the unit number, and then the rest of the pictures are for that unit. Love it.
Yeah,
And
and we have a very thorough form that they fill.
mm,
That at the end of the inspection, we aggregate all that, and I can tell you at the level of the light switch how many of those we need to repair and how many of those we need to fix, and what's the grade of every piece of appliances we have out there, and whether they have leaks or not. Everything is on that form,
yeah,
and I use my virtual assistant to kind of take all those scanned form and put them into Excel,
right.
and we know exactly where we're going into when we're done with the inspection period.
No, love it. Love it. That's the level of detail you need, guys, because you may not get into that unit again for years. I mean, this is an opportunity you must take advantage of, at least to that level of detail. When you've got a big team there, and obviously you're going to inspect units as you can, but and as regularly as you can, but that level of detail, typically the best time to do that is when you're going through your due diligence and you've got big teams there doing it. So, have you had any early failures that have contributed to your success?
Um, I don't know if I would call it failure, but definitely red flag moments, right?
Okay.
And I mentioned earlier paying $45,000 on a single property in about a period of, I don't know, 4 months or something like that. And that really kind of was a red flag for me to say, okay, go multifamily, right? In the multifamily world, I haven't had a chance to experience any failures yet.
Good.
Snugs, yeah, definitely. Surprises. We had a small fire on one of the properties,
Mm.
took 3 or 4 units down. But
Wow.
because we have an experienced property management company, we know how to handle this. We knew how to work with the insurance company. We took care of the residents first thing, right? We gave them
Mm.
new apartments, right, wherever we could, and we worked with them because at the end of the day, I am a big believer in karma.
Yeah,
Karma,
me
and
too.
I keep saying karma is good for business as well, right? But you take care of your residents, and it's in our organizational culture to the point of you haven't heard me say tenants. we address them as residents,
Mm-hmm.
right? You
No,
don't hear me say,
that's a critical distinction. That's a critical distinction.
we don't say complexes, we say communities,
Oh, I
right?
love it.
So, because that's what we want to do. The 102 units we bought, it was pitch black at night because all the exterior lights were out, right? And we're doing due diligence. It's in the middle of the day, and I see a nurse go out. You know, a nurse going out at noon, that means she's coming back around midnight or 1 a.m. How do you think she feels coming into a pitch black property?
Right.
Right? It's not, they don't feel safe, they can fall, right? And all that.
No question. You should be looking at your sight lines in the property. Can you see through? Can the police see through? And lighting. Yeah. So did you correct that? I'm assuming you did.
The first day when we took over, there was already an electrician on site putting brand new LED lights all over.
Love it.
Right?
Love it.
And going back to why karma is good for business, right? Do you think a nurse that leaves like that and comes back to a pitch black property is walking around the hospital saying, hey, look, come live in my community? No, she says to her friends, stay away from here.
Right.
But now when we do community events and when we take care of our residents, they can walk around proudly to say, hey, they're awesome over here. Come live with us.
Right. Love it. No, listen, anytime, you can call it karma. Karma is a great way to call it. I call it adding value. Anytime you add value, it always comes back to you. Anytime you give, it always comes back to you in any way, shape, or form, of yourself, of money, of adding value to somebody's life. It comes back tenfold. It's the way of the universe, or God, or whatever it is you believe in. It's just the way the universe works. What do you think is your superpower as it relates to multifamily investing? What are you best at?
Yeah, so my mind is wired 80,000 miles an hour of what could go wrong, right? My superpower is not letting this stop me from taking action, is that I use that mindset to build plan B and C and D and E and F and so on, to the point where I know that when I pull the trigger on a property, I am ready. I am prepared. I have contingency plans, and I know how we're going to handle whatever life throws at us, because life will throw things at you. That's just life.
That's just how it works. If you don't have problems, you typically 6 feet underground. Everybody has issues and things that come up, No, I love that, and that should resonate with those of you that are super analytical, that get caught up in analysis. Taking action, you have to push past it. You have to push past fearing what could go wrong, and try to focus on what could go right. Look at the positives and try to think about what could go right, not just what could go wrong, and take action. But of course, like you said, Joseph, you're going to look at every possible contingency and look for ways to, and come up with different scenarios and exit plans and strategies to handle anything that might pop up. And because of that, that helps ensure your success, because no matter what happens, you've thought about it, prepared for it, planned for it, and likely trained your team to handle it. And that's what makes a successful business owner. And anybody in this multifamily space, that's what you become as a business owner. What books do you like to gift to people in this business the most? Are there any books that you gift to others?
Yeah, so it really depends on where they are in their journey. Mm-hmm. If they're at the beginning, I like to give The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Awesome book.
Really helps people focus on how to get to their goals. If they have already gotten into the point where they're looking at properties and things like that, I always send them to your book to look at.
I was not expecting that. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
It's more about they have questions and this and that, and it's all in your book, right? There's no fluff. There's a ton of good content that helps people understand a lot of the aspects of what we do, if not all of it. So I send them to your book, right?
Oh, thank you, buddy. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and when they're a little bit further down the road, then I have two books. One is the 80-20 Rule by Perry Marshall, which is really goes back to the conversation about property management, right? Is where is the best use of my time? And you said it, if you're in acquisition mode, focus on acquisition because it's a better use of your time than managing a property, right?
Right.
So the 80-20 rule really helps focus.
Oh, that's the Pareto principle. And I mean, there's always 20% that will get you 80% of the traction. And it's typically the 20% you don't want to do, but that's the 20% that'll, in fact, I just had a conversation with my coaching clients last night about this very topic, exact same conversation. And if you want, and it was about productivity. I do a high performance coaching. It was about productivity. If you want to be productive, do the hard stuff first. Do that 20% first. Then the rest of the day, you're coasting, and you're much more productive. So anyway, what was there another book you were going to mention?
Yeah, there was one more book, and it's kind of like, it's not very famous. It's called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, and it's good for any business owner out there, not just multifamily, but it's about how do you think of your property, not your business, in a way of income streams, and how do you put aside money for taxes first, and then you take care of your profits, and in our case, our investors' profits, and then you drill down to the operation. So that's a really good book to help understand things like that.
Is the basic premise pay yourself first before you let it get sucked into the business? That's a great premise. You have to make sure that you take care of yourself. Otherwise, you're just working, and churning.
Yeah.
And
well, in our case, is also make sure you take care of your investors first.
Oh, sure, right? Of course.
And that's really where,
of course,
it kind of transitions well to what we do.
Okay, I'm going to definitely get it. I've never heard about that one before. Awesome. Well, guys, hey, and those of you listening, if you are not part of our Facebook group, you need to get on there. There's 4,700 people on there as of today, I think, and that's after, I think, less than 3 months. And there are groups forming all over the country. When I was in LA scouting out the location for my live event, I met with 5 guys that met on that group, and they now have a meetup with 45 people. So this is happening all over the country. You really need to get on there, and all you have to do is go to multifamilycommunity.com, and it's a direct link to that Facebook group. And there are a lot of hitters on there as well. Are you on there, Joseph?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, there you go, guys. Joseph's on there himself, so there you go. So, well, listen, my friend, it's been a real treat, and thank you for being on my show. You've added a ton of value, and I'm really excited to see you where you are 24 months from now. We'll probably have you back on, and I imagine that inventory will be double what it is now. So thanks again for being on the show, Joseph.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe and then take a moment to visit iTunes and leave a 5-star rating and review. For more resources to connect with us further, please visit our website at lifetimecashflowpodcast.com. Tune in next week for our next show.